What kind of family car comes loaded with a massive V8, a heavy-duty drivetrain, and racing technology built straight into its frame? In this video, we are uncovering 5 1950s sedans that secretly terrified muscle cars and changed the performance world forever. Number 5. In 1955, Chrysler released a four-door sedan that didn't look dangerous at all. There were no hood scoops, racing stripes, and no loud badges warning anyone what was hiding underneath. Just a clean, grown-up body and a simple name that meant nothing to most drivers back then. But under the hood sat something no American road car had ever offered before. The 1955 Chrysler 300 carried a 331 cubic inch firepower HEMI 5.8, making a full 300 horsepower and roughly 350 pound-feet of torque. At around 3,900 pounds, period testing showed this big sedan running to 60 miles per hour in about 9 to 10 seconds and through the quarter mile in the mid-17-second range, making it quicker than the 1955 Corvette and competitive with performance cars that wouldn't officially exist for years. It came from the factory with 3.73 rear gears, a heavy-duty suspension, and hardware borrowed straight from Chrysler's racing program. On the NASCAR circuit, modified versions of this same sedan won 21 races in the 1955 season, proving the drivetrain wasn't just fast, it was unbreakable. At that time, only 1,843 were built, and most didn't even wear a 300 badge, and for this today, the survivors trade for over $250,000. Now, what if the first American sedan ever to run the quarter mile in the 16 seconds had absolutely nothing on the outside to warn the car next to it? That surprise came from the HEMI itself. Its hemispherical combustion chambers let the engine breathe so efficiently that modern dyno tests still show over 310 horsepower at the wheels. Chrysler even mounted it in a lighter platform borrowed from their coupe program, giving the 300 a power-to-weight edge that no full-size sedan had any right to have. The results shook the industry. The NHRA stock class fell, and Car Life magazine called it the fastest production car we've tested. And inside Detroit, engineers started realizing something uncomfortable. A big family sedan had just shown everyone how muscle cars were really going to be built. Number 4. Most people in the 1950s thought fast meant long, heavy, and expensive. However, American Motors didn't get that memo. Instead, they dropped a 327 cubic inch V8 into the small, clean Rambler sedan and created the 1957 Rambler Rebel. The engine was tuned to 255 horsepower with 360 pound-feet of torque, and the whole car weighed barely 3,100 pounds. That combination turned the Rebel into a shockwave. The Motor Trend clocked it at 0 to 60 miles per hour in 7.7 seconds, and the quarter mile in 15.9 seconds at 90 miles per hour, making it the fastest four-door sedan they had ever tested. To put that into perspective, the legendary 1964 Pontiac GTO needed 8.1 seconds to reach 60. The Rebel was already rewriting the rulebook 7 years earlier. But talking about secrets, it wasn't just power. The Rebel's unitized body construction kept the center of gravity low, and the optional overdrive transmission helped it launch harder than cars twice its size. There were about 1,500 Rebels, and many went straight from the dealership to NHRA Superstock races. Somehow, this brutal performance machine still delivered surprisingly good highway mileage for the power it made, hiding its true nature behind an economy car reputation. But how did a compact four-door sedan end up outrunning future muscle icons and forcing Detroit's biggest names to rethink everything? The magic came from perfect power-to-weight balance. AMC shortened the Ambassador chassis for the Rebel, kept the body light, and let the big V8 do the rest. The car hooked hard, launched clean, and stayed stable at speed in a way few 1950s sedans could. And the Rebel rewrote expectations. It went on to dominate NHRA stock competition, earned massive press praise, and even landed a Motor Trend Car of the Year finalist spot. Long before the pony car era exploded, the Rambler Rebel quietly proved that you didn't need bulk, chrome, or hype to dominate. You just needed the right balance and the nerve to build it. If you are enjoying this list so far, hit that like button because it helps this channel a lot. And if you love uncovering forgotten performance legends like these, subscribe so you never miss what's next. Now let's finish this list with the most unexpected monster of them all. Number 3. The year was 1955, and Chevrolet didn't just release a new car, they released a new idea. The Bel Air arrived with the brand new 265 cubic inch small block V8, making 162 horsepower in base form and up to 195 horsepower with the optional power pack. backed by 260 pound-feet of torque. Weighing around 3,500 pounds, this family sedan delivered performance that shocked the segment, outrunning Hudson Hornets, straight-eight cruisers, and even luxury V8s that cost far more. The sleek Tri-5 body design helped the car slip through the air better than most sedans of its era, while the optional Powerglide automatic kept power flowing smoothly off the line. The stock Bel Airs began winning NHRA stock classes, and Chevrolet's factory-backed hot rod teams turned the car into a drag racing staple. Over 1.5 million 1955 Chevrolets were sold, which meant this wasn't a rare performance toy. It was a performance for everyone. It was something small, simple, and affordable that started embarrassing cars that were supposed to be untouchable, and the industry never looked at horsepower the same way again. So what was hiding inside this mild-looking Chevy that forced Detroit to rethink everything? The answer was the small block itself. Chevrolet's new thin-wall casting made the 265 lighter and more compact than anything else on the road, giving the Bel Air a perfect power-to-weight balance. It pulled hard, stayed stable, and responded to tuning like no engine before it. Soon Bel Airs were joining the 100-mile-per-hour club, and serious drag builds later pushed these into 12-second territory. And more importantly, the Bel Air changed the business of speed. That thinking changed everything and launched the muscle car era. Number 2. By 1957, Detroit was pretending the performance war hadn't started yet. Dodge ignored that and showed up with something almost illegal. The Coronet D501 looked like a normal full-size sedan, but under the hood sat a massive 354 cubic inch HEMI borrowed from Chrysler's high-performance program, officially rated at 340 horsepower and built with heavy-duty internals and dual 4-barrel carburetors. On the strip, race-prepared D501s delivered performance that rivaled purpose-built competition machines, embarrassing early performance prototypes and forcing Detroit to take sedan performance seriously for the first time. Dodge hid massive brakes, heavy-duty suspension, and 3.91 rear gears inside the car's smooth forward look styling. Now, you won't believe it, but only 55 D501s were built for racing homologation, with very few street versions ever reaching the public. The D501 smashed NHRA records and forced everyone else to stop pretending sedans were slow. It was like a calm-looking Dodge walked onto the drag strip and started rewriting record books, and nobody in Detroit saw it coming. Still, what exactly turned this commuter car into a full-blown nightmare for the competition? The heart of the D501's dominance was Dodge's race-built 354 HEMI itself. The engineers raised compression, strengthened the internals, and tuned the induction system straight from Chrysler's competition program. And combined with the relatively light Coronet shell, the result was a sedan that launched brutally hard and kept pulling long after most rivals ran out of breath. Because of this, the D501 captured the 1957 NHRA National Superstock Championship. Even today, untouched examples on stock internals often show far more power than their original ratings suggest on modern dynos. The D501 scared the industry awake, forcing GM and Ford into factory-backed racing and effectively launching the factory supercar wars. And it only took one sedan to start it all. Number 1. And for the last one, we're not even talking about a V8. The 1953 Hudson Hornet showed up with something far more unexpected. A massive 308 cubic inch inline-six, running the legendary twin H-power setup. 2 carburetors fed the engine, producing 210 horsepower and 270 pound-feet of torque from Hudson's advanced F-head design. What made it deadly wasn't just the engine, but Hudson's step-down chassis placed the floor pan lower than any other sedan on the road, dropping the center of gravity and making the Hornet feel glued to corners. So, of course, the change was really unexpected. From 1951 to 1954, Hudson's won 56 NASCAR races, sweeping championships and humiliating far larger V8-powered rivals. This wasn't some rare race special either. More than 30,000 Hornets were sold, blending full-size luxury with track-bred performance. A long, smooth luxury sedan with 6 cylinders walked into stock car racing and left entire V8 programs scrambling for answers. How did that even happen? Well, Hudson's secret was balance. The long-stroke 6 delivered huge low-end torque. The twin carburetors kept airflow strong at speed, and the ultra-low chassis made the car handle like nothing else in its class. It wasn't louder or flashier, it was simply better engineered. The Hornet's dominance wasn't subtle. It delivered 3 straight NASCAR championships, and even the automotive press crowned it the king of stock cars. Even modern restorations still produce around 220 horsepower naturally, without forced induction or modern tricks. The Hornet forced Detroit to confront an uncomfortable truth that raw cylinder count didn't win races, but smart engineering did. And that realization lit the fuse on the V8 arms race that followed. So what do you think? Which of these sedans surprised you the most, and which one would you want in your garage today? Let us know in the comments. And if you enjoyed this breakdown, make sure to watch our next video, 10 most bizarre school buses that actually transported American kids, because it is just as unbelievable.